Welcome back to the garden here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Part of this gardening project, when it started way back when, 3 years ago or so, a lot of the talk was about the house as being updated as well. There was green aluminum siding on the house. It's been pulled off and hardy plank has gone on it. This right hand side, they've done a little bit of the painting on, so it's going to be that same blue color that we have on the shed in the back garden, and then white trim around all the windows. They just have finished getting the siding on. The front porch is going to become an A-frame. We talked about putting a front porch across the entire front, and that may end up taking place someday. But in the meantime, there's going to be an A-frame porch. They're starting the construction on that as soon as this was done. So I would imagine in the next couple days, they'll start on that part of the project, and that'll really change the front of the house. If you've been following the channel, there were very large old azaleas here that were maybe as old as the house. I dug the ones out on this side, dug a couple of the ones on the other side. There's a couple stumps over there that still need to come out. I was just showing different ways that they could be removed in that video. There's a cinder block wall that runs around these two beds on each side of the porch. This front piece will definitely come out. May leave this wall here because there's such a grade difference. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, I'm probably 2 feet above the driveway right now. And this Solomon seal is being contained. This stuff would run everywhere. And it's turned the corner and it's trying to run this way now. It's almost getting too much sun. There was this big maple out here originally that kept this in a little more shade. And you can see it's a little more crispy than it was in the past. So it may not end up being the best plant for that space anyway. But for now, that's where it is. This piece of cinder block wall is coming out. All of it's coming out on the other side. We actually get to redesign this foundation bed. It just had left it in place, just waiting, to get around to this house project. The highlights Thuya here on the corner will probably move back into this space once this, we've got a few things that we were kind of using this as a foundation line right here while we waited for this, all this to happen back here. So some of this stuff will probably move back in here. Don't know yet. Just the planning stages of that, but really excited, to get this project done and the house to kind of start to become part of the garden project. Definitely want to show off a very different kind of milkweed. This is Gomphocarpus physocarpus, I think is the Latin name for it. Some people call it balloon flower and all kinds of things, and then it has the name hairy balls as well, which is, I think, just kind of a funny name for it. Bloomed like absolute mad, has had pollinators all over it all season long. Just an absolutely wild plant. I think in some places further south it would be invasive. Our winter here in zone 7B in Raleigh should control it, but just an absolutely wild addition to the garden this year. And it's definitely, we don't water the spot. This is on the other side of the driveway, and it's probably been watered maybe twice the whole season. And it took off running from a plant this big, to this 6 foot tall and probably 8 foot wide in a single season. A little further down from a very different kind of milkweed, this Saladago called Fireworks is just starting to come into flower. This one, man, what a great plant. There are Saladagos that bloom from Canada all the way down to Mexico, and they typically go off in very late summer, early fall as the nighttime temperatures start to come down. This one is a named cultivar, that was selected because of how showy it actually is. It's just getting started. This thing will just be solid yellow here in the next few weeks. It actually needs a little water. We are definitely up on temperatures and down on water here in the last few weeks, especially. And I can tell, we haven't been out in the garden as much. There's been house construction going on. There's been a lot of travel going on. And I can tell we've drought stressed things a little bit. But this thing is absolutely loaded with buds. It'll be blooming for weeks and weeks. Pollinators absolutely love it. Important plant out in the world because these fall blooming things are when your migratory insects are moving back and forth, and they're kind of important things to think about having in your garden. A few weeks back, we did a video pulling some giant zinnias out of this space, absolutely butchering this lantana and freeing up some of our saving some of our conifers along the edge, doing some pruning back here. And in that video, again, I just absolutely butchered this lantana, and you can see it's, boom, just 2 weeks later, it's back up, looking great, great looking foliage, and of course the flowers are now popping on it. I think it'll be in full flower here in another week or so, and this will bloom, you know, right through October for us until it gets resistance. But that's the thing, this perennial lantana sits underneath these zinnias that we do every season, and when the zinnias start to look tired in midsummer, which those giant zinnias kind of always do for us here in the South, we can pull them, give this thing a haircut, and boom, it takes the space over. And we basically have gone from May 1st flowers, you know, we'll go right through October in this space. We did a video on most of the salvia out here in the garden a few weeks ago. This red summer jewel salvia may be the winner for the season, honestly. If I was gonna go back and rank them all that we have, perennial, annual, most of them are perennial somewhere, but annual to us, you know, the winter's going to kill them in our area. This red summer jewel has just been incredibly, incredible. It just never ever stops. It poked up through all of these, you know, dwarf zinnias and vinca and coleus and everything else, and it's just come right up through the middle of them, and it just absolutely never stops blooming. You know, right here in front of the camera, you know, is another one of the mini salvia out here in the garden. And I like this combo. I like this red with the nightlight Chamaecyparis behind it. Everything here is very vigorous and probably is gonna have some control added to it very soon. Again, out of town a lot, house construction going on. There's a dumpster that you can probably see a bit of back here. You know, this has been our view. You know, our garden view this summer or late summer is, you know, is dumpsters and containers that aren't in the spaces that they're supposed to go, and the house sounding like it's, you know, about to fall in on us all day long. So that's where we are, but there's still lots of flowering things out here, tons of pollinators. It doesn't look as neat as it normally does, but it's functioning the way that we intended it to function, having birds and pollinators out here enjoying the space. So here's the entrance to the garden, big giant green dumpster. Vinca looks great out here. You know, everything, you know, this would be a pretty good looking entrance to the garden right now, but it, you know, again, there's a big giant dumpster sitting out here. Hydrangea paniculatas have quit on us a little bit early this season here because we just didn't give them as much water as we have in the past. I think they would probably not be as browned out as that, you know, with a bit more water, but it's totally fine. They were beautiful while they were flowering. Everything else looks pretty good out here, really, and we've got so many goldfinches. We've left all of these cone flowers up. We've left the Verbena bonariensis here next to me up. There's so many things that are out here. There's a Mexican sunflower back here behind the camera where they absolutely love. They just tear those things up all day long. The goldfinches are hard to film. As soon as you open the door, as soon as you even think, if you think camera, goldfinches fly away. So I don't have great photos of all the goldfinches out here, but I enjoy watching them during the day. They're lots and lots of them, and they're, you know, again, they're an important part of this garden. So it's worth leaving some of our, you know, cone flowers and other things, you know, up in the garden, so that they take advantage of those. You can see the cestrum still in full flower. I did a video maybe a week ago at this point of the top 10 flowering summer plants, and I just included this one as a bonus one because a lot of, you know, not everyone can grow this one. This is definitely a southern shrub for sure. But you can see, I mean, when I said this thing never quits blooming, it's almost like it's in peak flower all the time while it's flowering. It doesn't even go up and down. It eats its old flowers quickly, so they don't, you know, they don't stand out on the plant, and then it just continues to put up new flowers. It's absolutely covered in bees. This morning, again, another plant that's placed poorly now that the siding is done and the azaleas behind it are gone. So it's got to slide back to the foundation or be moved somewhere else. There's a big giant snow joey viburnum here, which has just eaten the entire garden. It's either got to slide back or it's got to go, because now we're going to be able to layer this bed, and you'll see in design videos coming up, designing this front foundation, that, you know, we'll now bring a different kind of order to this. Again, we're just waiting for projects to start and get them behind us. But this snow joey viburnum's eating this snowbells. Camellia here, it's eating the Majesty Encore Azalea down there. So it's going to get. This one actually may be a candidate that it's not going to be here anymore. But we'll see when we get going on it and we get a design, and then we'll have these things layered back to the house much better than they currently are. We've taken a few of the vegetables out of the vegetable garden at this point, and we actually have lettuce started in trays in the house. We're probably 3 weeks away, maybe 4 weeks away from putting lettuce in the ground back here in the vegetable garden. But there's still peppers back there, eggplant back there, more tomatoes than we can eat. That entire back wall back there is tomatoes. A quick update on the butterfly candy butterfly bushes. This is little lavender and little taffy, the pink and the kind of light purple one, or kind of pinkish purple one. Super compact. They bloom and bloom and bloom. We haven't laid a blade on them. I wanted to kind of grow them this first season without doing any shearing on them. Typically on our butterfly bushes, we'll either deadhead them or just give them a bit of a haircut at least once or twice during the season. But these have just been super compact without doing any of that really. And this is little raspberry and little coconut. This thing is just, the color on this is just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And this one is kind of in between flowers right now. I could give this one a quick haircut. It would flush right back out and be back in full bloom. So I may do that. I may take, this one is a little more vigorous. You can see the other three that I have out here are, definitely, 2 feet tall and 3 feet wide in a single season. And this one is more like 3, and this is kind of what I've seen from this one. It's more like 3.5 feet tall and kind of narrower growth habit. So slightly different growth habit than the others, but man, do these things just, they bloom and bloom and bloom. And again, we haven't laid a blade on them just to kind of show, I just wanted to take a look at how they were going to perform in the garden without having to do any maintenance on them. And they've never stopped blooming. Pollinators love them, of course. This is a great example of this garden at this point this summer. We got the summer jewels, salvia back here, some other perennial salvias. All the salvias were in a video again a couple of weeks ago. Look at I hope you can see how many bees there are on here, and there are other little small flying things that I wish I knew the identity of. So many things buzzing and flying around these, but we haven't kept this border in as good a shape as we normally would have. Again, just out of town a ton, over the course, especially over the course of the last month, and then the home construction, the road got repaved. I mean, just on and on and on. We haven't maintained it kind of the same way, and we knew it. We knew toward the end of summer it was just going to be chaos out here. There's containers everywhere. Patio still hasn't been moved forward at all because between being out of town and it being 98 degrees so many days and so on and so forth, we haven't maintained it the same, but it's still functioning the same. Their bees are still, we have as many or more bees than we've ever had, as many or more birds than we've ever had. Everything is functioning exactly the same. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time. We set in motion a system, for these things to grow well, and they've grown well with or without us. We could have sheared them a couple more times and had them be neater right now, but again, it hasn't mattered, and we haven't been here enough to pay attention to it, honestly. But it still looks, overall, I think if anybody else came out here, they wouldn't judge it as harshly as I do, looking at it. So we have about 2 more months here with these things flowering, and all of these are almost entirely native pollinators on these plants. We have the honeybees out in the front garden, which are non-native pollinators, actually important non-native pollinators to make up for the fact that we have to have so many things have to be pollinated, for our food consumption. So those non-native honeybees are important, and they do serve a purpose for us as humans to be able to feed our population. But all of these native pollinators, are as or more important, and that's what we have back here, enjoying all of these flowering things. One of the funny things about this garden project is the first thing that happened here was this building got built on the back, and then the screen porch got put on to the back of the house, which is being repainted as part of the whole as part of the whole project. And then basically we've designed everything off of that building. It's kind of funny because I'm putting up these before and after photos. Folks have been sending in before and after photos of their gardening. People, folks who have just subscribed to the channel for a long time. And I can see the influence of the shed in a lot of those photos. It's really amazing that folks either had sheds and then turned them into art pieces in their gardens, or they've built sheds with the intent of having them be part of the garden, not being their function, but they can also be, part of it. So the house color and everything is coming off what we originally did on this shed back in the back corner. And again, I can see other people doing that exact same thing. So that's kind of been fun to see your before and after photos. And if you have before and after photos of your garden project, you can send them to the HortTube@gmail.com email address. Folks have been sending them in faster than I can ever make these videos. But I promise you, at some point you'll see yours in a video as well. So thank you very much for following along with the channel. Really exciting to get one of the biggest pieces. I mean, the original video that I put up from this garden, and there's a playlist called New House, was a lot of the conversation in that video was about the actual house becoming part of the garden in time, and that is finally in the process of coming to fruition, and we can get this garden kind of put back together, patio finished, and some other things wrapped up as well. And a new project kind of redesigning that front foundation, and probably some redesign in some other areas of this garden as well that are kind of overcrowded at this point. So thanks for following along with it.